The sound of breaking glass should have made someone scream. It should have made someone cry or run or call for help. But in the giant mansion on Rosewood Avenue, the only sound after the crash was silence. A terrible, heavy silence that made Hyatt's heart beat faster. Hyatt was new. This was only her third day working as a maid in the Price family's home. Everything here was beautiful and expensive. Marble floors that shine like mirrors, paintings as big as walls, and crystal glasses that probably cost more than her car. She had been carrying a tray of those expensive glasses when she heard the crash from the living room. She dropped her tray on the kitchen counter and ran. "Hello? Is everyone okay?" Hyatt called out as she rushed through the doorway. That's when she saw him. A little boy, no more than 4 years old, was standing perfectly still in the corner of the room. His small hands were pressed flat against the white wall. His face was pushed so close to the wall that his nose was almost touching it. Broken glass sparkled on the floor near his feet like dangerous diamonds. "Sweetie, are you hurt?" Hyatt walked closer, her shoes crunching on the broken pieces. The boy didn't move. He didn't turn around. He didn't even seem to breathe. "Hello? Can you hear me?" Hyatt bent down, trying to see his face. But all she could see was the side of his cheek, pale and perfectly still. Then she heard it, a whisper so quiet it was almost like the wind. "Face the wall." Hyatt froze. "What did you say, honey?" "Face the wall," the boy whispered again. His voice was flat, empty, like a robot saying words it didn't understand. Hyatt's stomach felt strange. Something was very wrong here. "My name is Hyatt. I'm the new helper here." "What's your name?" "Face the wall." The same words. The same empty voice. Hyatt looked at the broken glass on the floor. It had fallen from a small table near where the boy stood. Maybe he had knocked it over by accident. Kids broke things all the time. It was normal. But nothing about this felt normal. "It's okay about the glass," Hyatt said softly. "Accidents happen. You're not in trouble. You can turn around now." But the boy stayed frozen against the wall, his little fingers spread out like he was trying to push through it and disappear. "Face the wall," he whispered one more time. Hyatt felt something cold run down her back. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a kid being silly or shy. This was fear. Pure, terrible fear. She had seen scared children before. She had younger brothers and sisters. She knew what kids looked like when they were afraid of getting in trouble or afraid of the dark. But this was different. This boy was afraid of something much, much worse. "Sweetie, I need you to look at me," Hyatt said, making her voice as gentle as a lullaby. "Nobody's angry. I just want to make sure you're not hurt." The boy's shoulders were shaking now. Was he crying? Hyatt moved closer, careful not to step on the glass. She reached out to touch his shoulder, but stopped. What if touching him made things worse? "Face the wall." This time his voice cracked, like he was forcing the words out even though they hurt. Hyatt's eyes started to burn with tears. Who had taught this baby to be so afraid? Who had made him think he had to face a wall and disappear into himself? Before she could say anything else, she heard the front door slam open. "Kofi, I'm home." A deep voice echoed through the mansion. The boy, Kofi, went even more stiff, if that was possible. His fingers curled against the wall, like he was trying to hold on to it. Heavy footsteps came closer. A tall man in an expensive suit walked into the living room. His phone pressed his ear. He was talking loudly about business deals and money. He barely looked up. This had to be Lennox Price, Kofi's father, the billionaire who owned half the city. "I'll call you back," Lennox said into his phone when he finally noticed Hyatt standing there. His eyes moved from her to the broken glass, and then finally to his son, pressed against the wall like a shadow. His face went white. "Kofi!" Lennox's voice changed completely. The business voice disappeared. Now he sounded scared. "Kofi, what are you doing?" He rushed over and tried to turn his son around, but Kofi went rigid, his body stiff as a board. "No, no, no," Lennox whispered. "Not again. Please, not again." Hyatt's heart pounded. Again? This had happened before? "Face the wall," Kofi whispered, and his small voice broke something inside Hyatt's chest. Lennox looked at Hyatt with desperate eyes. "How long has he been like this? What happened?" I just found him here, Hyatt said quickly. The glass broke, and he was already standing like this. I try to talk to him, but he just keeps saying. Face the wall, Lennox finished, his voice hollow. I know. He's been doing this for weeks. Weeks? Hyatt stared at this powerful man, this billionaire who could buy anything in the world, and saw something she didn't expect. A father who had no idea how to save his son. Mr. Price, Hyatt said carefully, this isn't normal. This isn't just a kid being stubborn or playing a game. Something's really wrong. I know, Lennox said, running his hand through his hair. I've tried everything. Doctors, psychologists, everyone says he's physically fine. But he keeps doing this. Every time something breaks or falls, he runs to a wall and won't move for hours. Hyatt looked at little Kofi, still frozen, still whispering those 3 terrible words over and over. Mr. Price, Hyatt said, her voice shaking but strong. Has anyone ever asked him what those words mean? Has anyone asked what he's really afraid of? Lennox opened his mouth, then closed it. His face said everything. No, nobody had asked. Maybe, Hyatt said quietly, the answer isn't about what's wrong with Kofi. Maybe it's about what happened to him. Maybe someone hurt him. Did you ever bother to ask what happens in this house when you're not around? The words hung in the air like smoke. Lennox's eyes went wide. Then they filled with something that looked like horror and understanding all mixed together. He dropped to his knees beside his son. Kofi, he said, his voice breaking. Kofi, please look at Daddy. Please, son. I need to know. Did someone hurt you? For the first time since Hyatt had found him, Kofi moved. His hand slid down the wall just a little bit. His face turned, just enough for them to see tears streaming down his cheeks. And then, in a voice so small it was almost invisible, he whispered 3 different words. 3 words that would change everything. She hit me. The room went completely silent. And in that silence, Hyatt saw something break inside Lennox Price that no amount of money could ever fix. 3 words. Just 3 small words from a 4-year-old boy. But they hit Lennox Price like a truck crashing into a wall. She hit me. Lennox couldn't breathe. His expensive suit suddenly felt too tight. His hands were shaking as he reached toward his son. But he pulled back, afraid to touch him. Afraid he might break this tiny person who was already so broken. Who? Lennox's voice came out like a croak. Who hit you, Kofi? But Kofi had gone quiet again. His face turned back to the wall, like the wall was the only safe place in the whole world. Hyatt watched the father and son, and her heart felt like it was being squeezed by a giant hand. She had only known this family for 3 days, but she already knew something terrible had been hiding in this beautiful mansion. Something dark lived here, behind all the pretty paintings and shiny floors. Kofi, sweetheart, Hyatt said gently, kneeling down beside him. You're safe now. Nobody's going to hurt you. But we need to know who did this so we can make sure it never happens again. Kofi's small shoulders started shaking. He was crying, but trying so hard not to make any sound, like he had learned that crying was dangerous. Lennox looked at Hyatt with lost eyes. I don't understand. Who would hurt him? We have cameras. We have security. This house is supposed to be the safest place in the world. Cameras don't see everything, Hyatt said quietly. And sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones we trust to take care of the people we love. Something clicked in Lennox's face. A memory, maybe, or a horrible realization. Martya, he whispered. Who's Martya? Hyatt asked. The maid before you, Lennox said, his voice getting harder now, filling with anger. I fired her 3 weeks ago. She was stealing from us. I found jewelry and cash missing from my room. When I confronted her, she denied it, but I had proof. I told her to leave immediately. Hyatt felt her stomach drop. Was she Kofi's nanny too? Did she take care of him? Lennox nodded slowly. Yes, she'd been with us for almost a year. She cooked for him, helped him get dressed, stayed with him when I was at work. He looked at his son, and tears started falling down his face. Oh, God. Oh, God, what did she do to you? Kofi, Hyatt said softly. Was it Miss Martya? Was she the one who hurt you? For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, like a flower opening in the morning, Kofi nodded his head. Lennox made a sound like something had punched him in the chest. "Show us," Hyatt whispered. "Show us where it hurts, baby. We need to see so we can help you." Kofi's hands were still on the wall. He stood there for what felt like forever. Then, with shaking fingers, he reached down and lifted the back of his shirt. Hyatt gasped. On Kofi's small back, there were marks, faint purple and yellow bruises that were fading but still visible. They weren't huge, but they were there. Real. Proof that someone had hurt this innocent child. Lennox fell backward like his legs had stopped working. He sat on the floor, staring at his son's back, and his face looked like his whole world had just exploded. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no. This can't be real. This can't be happening." But it was real. It was happening. It had already happened weeks ago, and nobody had noticed. Nobody had looked. Nobody had asked. Hyatt gently pulled Kofi's shirt back down and turned to face Lennox. Her voice was soft but strong. "Mr. Price, I need you to listen to me now. I know this is hard. I know you're hurt and angry and confused. But Kofi needs you to be strong right now. Can you do that?" Lennox looked up at her with red eyes. He nodded. "Good," Hyatt said. "Kofi, honey, can you tell us what Miss Marty did? You're safe now. She's gone. But we need to know so we can help you feel better." Kofi finally turned around. His face was wet with tears, and his eyes looked so old, too old for a 4-year-old, like he had seen things no child should ever see. "When I broke things," Kofi said in his tiny voice, "or when I was too loud, or when I didn't eat my food fast enough, she got mad." "What did she do when she got mad?" Hyatt asked gently. "She said I was bad." Kofi's lip trembled. "She said bad boys need to be punished. She made me go to the wall, face the wall, and if I moved or made noise, she—" He touched his back. "She hit me with her hand. Hard. And she said if I told Daddy, she would hit me more. She said nobody would believe me anyway because I'm just a kid." Lennox made a sound like a wounded animal. He crawled over to his son and wrapped his arms around him, pulling him close. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I'm so sorry, Kofi. I should have known. I should have seen. What kind of father am I?" Kofi buried his face in his father's chest, and for the first time, he cried out loud. Real crying, with sound and sobs and all the pain he'd been holding inside. Hyatt wiped her own tears away. She let them have this moment, this breaking open of all the hurt. Sometimes things had to break before they could heal. After a while, Lennox looked up at Hyatt. His eyes were different now. Harder. Determined. "What do I do?" he asked. "Tell me what to do to make this right." "First," Hyatt said, "we need to take pictures of those bruises. Then we need to call a doctor to check Kofi and write a report. Then we need to call the police." "The police?" Lennox looked surprised. "Yes," Hyatt said firmly. "What Martia did wasn't just wrong. It's a crime. She hurt a child. That's called abuse. And people go to jail for that. You have money and power, Mr. Price. Use it. Make sure she can never hurt another child again." Lennox nodded slowly, then faster. Yes, you're right." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling my lawyer first, then the police, then every child protection agency in this city. Mario won't get away with this. I promise you that." He stood up, still holding Kofi in his arms. The little boy wrapped his legs around his father's waist and held on tight. "Daddy," Kofi whispered. "Yes, son? Are you going to send me away? Because I'm bad." Lennox's face crumpled. He held his son tighter. No. You're not bad, Kofi. You were never bad. You're perfect. You're my perfect boy. And I'm the one who was bad. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't here enough. I didn't protect you like a daddy should." "It's not your fault," Kofi said quietly. "It is," Lennox said. "But I'm going to fix it. I'm going to make everything better. I promise." Hyatt watched them and felt a tiny spark of hope in her chest. This was just the beginning. The hurt was still there. The fear was still there. But at least now, the truth was out. The secret was broken. And secrets were like poison. They only hurt you when you keep them inside. Mr. Price, Hyatt said, "There's one more thing." Lennox looked at her. This boy doesn't just need protection. He needs healing. Trauma doesn't disappear because you make promises. He needs to talk to someone who knows how to help kids who've been hurt. A special doctor called a therapist. Someone who can help him feel safe again, not just in his house, but in his own mind. Lennox nodded. Whatever he needs. Money isn't a problem. I'll get him the best therapists in the country. The best doctors. Whatever it takes. Good, Hyatt said, because healing takes time. It's going to be hard. There will be bad days. Kofi might still get scared. He might still run to the wall sometimes. But if you're patient, if you're there, if you don't give up, he can get better. Lennox looked down at his son, who had his face buried in his daddy's shoulder. I won't give up. Never. I failed you once, Kofi. I will never fail you again. Later that night, after the doctor came and took pictures, after the police arrived and asked general questions, after Marty's phone number was given to the detectives who would find her and arrest her, Hyatt found herself sitting in the kitchen with a cup of tea. She was exhausted, emotionally drained, but also strangely proud. Today, a little boy's voice had been heard. Today, a terrible secret had been brought into the light. Today, justice had started to happen. She heard footsteps and looked up. Lennox stood in the doorway, looking older somehow, but also stronger. He's asleep, Lennox said quietly. Finally, I sat with him until he fell asleep. That's good, Hyatt said. Thank you, Lennox said. If you hadn't been here, if you hadn't asked the right questions, I don't know if we ever would have found out. I might have lost my son forever, even though he was right here in front of me. Hyatt nodded. Sometimes the hardest thing is just asking the question, just looking close enough to see. Lennox sat down across from her. The police said Marya will be charged with child abuse and theft. My lawyer says with the evidence we have, she'll likely go to prison. Good, Hyatt said simply. But that's not enough, is it? Lennox said, putting her in jail doesn't erase what she did. It doesn't take away Kofi's fear. No, Hyatt agreed. It doesn't. But it's a start. Justice matters. And now the real work begins. Lennox looked at her. Will you stay? Will you help us through this? I can't do this alone. Hyatt smiled softly. Yes, Mr. Price. I'll stay, for as long as Kofi needs me. And in that moment, in that quiet kitchen in that big mansion, a broken family took its first real step toward healing. The first therapy session happened 3 days later. Dr. Chin was a kind woman with a soft voice and a warm smile. She specialized in helping children who had been hurt. She came to the house because Kofi wasn't ready to go to new places yet. Everything still felt dangerous to him. Hyatt and Lennox sat in the hallway outside Kofi's playroom, while Dr. Chin talked with him inside. They could hear soft voices, but couldn't make out the words. Lennox kept looking at his watch, then at the door, then at his watch again. It's only been 10 minutes, Hyatt said gently. Healing doesn't happen fast. I know, Lennox said. What if he won't talk to her? What if he's too scared? Before Hyatt could answer, the door opened. Dr. Chin stepped out, and her face was serious. How is he? Lennox jumped up. He's struggling. Dr. Chin said honestly. Right now, he's facing the wall. It's a safe place, his way of protecting himself. We need to be patient. Trust takes time to rebuild. Lennox's shoulders slumped. So we failed. No, Dr. Chin said firmly. This is normal. Kofi spent months learning that walls keep him safe, that silence protects him. We can't expect him to unlearn that in one day. But here's what matters. He's here. You're here. And we're going to keep showing up until he knows, deep in his heart, that he's truly safe now. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Chun came 3 times a week. Sometimes Kofi would talk a little. Sometimes he would play with toys while she watched. Sometimes he would just face the wall for the whole hour. But slowly, like ice melting in the spring, things started to change. One morning, Kofi ate breakfast without running to check if anyone was watching. One afternoon, he laughed at a cartoon on TV. Really laughed, not the scared, quiet laugh he used to do. One evening, he asked his daddy to read him 2 bedtime stories instead of 1. Small things, tiny victories. But to Hyatt and Lennox, they felt like miracles. Lennox had changed too. He left work early now. He ate dinner with Kofi every night. He asked questions. How are you feeling today? What made you smile? Is there anything that scared you? He was learning to be the father Kofi needed, not just a father who provided things. But trauma is tricky. It doesn't go away in a straight line. Some days are good. Some days are hard. And some days test everything you've learned. That test came on a Tuesday afternoon. Hyatt was in the kitchen making Kofi's favorite snack, apple slices with peanut butter. Kofi was in the living room building a tower with blocks. Lennox was in his office on a video call, but his door was open so he could hear if Kofi needed him. Everything was peaceful, normal, safe. Then Kofi's tower fell. The blocks crashed to the floor with a loud clatter that echoed through the house. Hyatt's heart stopped. She dropped the knife and ran toward the living room. But she already knew what she would find. Kofi was standing perfectly still, his back to the room. He was walking slowly toward the wall, his hands already coming up. "No," Hyatt whispered. "Not again." She heard Lennox's office door slam open. He must have heard the crash too. They both reached the living room at the same time. Kofi was almost at the wall now, his fingers reaching out. "Face the wall," he whispered, his voice robotic again. "Face the wall. Face the wall." Hyatt's eyes filled with tears. After all the progress, after all the good days, they were back at the beginning. The fear was still there, just waiting for a chance to come back. But then Lennox did something different. He didn't yell. He didn't rush over. He didn't panic. Instead, he walked slowly to where Kofi stood and sat down on the floor right next to him, not touching him, not forcing him, just being there. "Kofi," Lennox said softly, "I see you're scared. The loud noise scared you. That's okay. Fear's okay." Kofi's hands were shaking against the wall. "But I want you to know something," Lennox continued. "That wall isn't the only safe place anymore. I'm safe too. Hyatt is safe too. This whole house is safe now. The person who hurt you is gone forever. She's in jail, and she can never come back." Hyatt held her breath. Would this work? "I know the wall feels safe," Lennox said. "Miss Marty had taught you that walls protect you, but she was wrong. You know what really protects you? Love, family, people who care about you. That's real safety." Kofi's fingers slowly stopped moving. "Your tower fell down," Lennox said. "That's all that happened. Towers fall sometimes. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you need to be punished. It just means towers fall and we build them again." Silence. Heavy, thick silence. Then, so quietly that Hyatt almost missed it, Kofi whispered, "I'm scared." "I know," Lennox said, his voice gentle. "Being scared is brave. Do you know why? Because you're telling the truth about how you feel. That takes courage." Kofi's hand started to slide down the wall, just a little. "What if?" Kofi's voice was tiny. "What if I turn around and you're angry?" Lennox's face broke into a sad smile. "I could never be angry at you for being scared. Never. I'm only angry at the person who made you feel this way. But she's gone, and I'm here. I'll always be here." Hyatt watched, barely breathing, as Kofi's hands fell to his sides. His shoulders were still tense, his body still ready to run. "Kofi," Hyatt said softly from across the room, "remember what Dr. Chen said? You're the boss of your fear. Fear doesn't get to tell you what to do. You get to choose." Kofi stood there for what felt like forever. Then, inch by inch, he turned around. His face was wet with tears. His eyes were wide and frightened. But he wasn't facing the wall anymore. Lennox opened his arms. "Come here, son." For a moment, Kofi didn't move. The old fear was still there, still whispering that walls were safer than people. But then something stronger than fear took over. Kofi ran. He ran across the room and threw himself into his father's arms. And Lennox caught him and held him so tight it was like he was trying to squeeze all the fear right out of him. "I got you," Lennox whispered, rocking back and forth. "I got you, buddy. You're so brave. You're so brave." Kofi sobbed into his father's shoulder, big, loud, messy sobs that shook his whole body. But these were different tears. These were healing tears. The kind that wash away pain instead of hiding it. Hyatt wiped her own tears away and smiled. This was the breakthrough they'd been waiting for. The moment when love became stronger than fear. Later that evening, after Kofi had calmed down and was playing quietly with his blocks again, building towers and letting them fall without fear, Hyatt found Lennox standing by the window, looking out at the sunset. "He did it," Lennox said quietly. "He chose us instead of the wall." "He did," Hyatt agreed, "but you did something too, Mr. Price. You gave him space to be scared. You didn't force him. You just loved him. That's what he needed." Lennox nodded. Dr. Chun said there will be more hard days, more times when he might go back to old habits. "That's true," Hyatt said. "Healing isn't a straight line. But every time he chooses trust over fear, it gets a little easier. Every time he lets someone love him, the fear gets a little smaller." "I almost missed it all," Lennox said, his voice breaking. "I was so busy with work, so focused on making money and building my business, that I didn't see my son was suffering right in front of me." "But you see him now," Hyatt said. "That's what matters. You can't change the past, but you're changing the future. You're showing up. You're listening. You're learning. That's everything." That night, when Lennox went to tuck Kofi into bed, his son looked up at him with clear eyes. "Daddy." "Yes, Kofi?" "I don't want to face the wall anymore." Lennox felt his throat get tight. "You don't have to, son. Never again." "What should I face instead?" Lennox thought for a moment, then smiled. "Face the people who love you. Face the good things. Face tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be better than today." Kofi smiled, a real, genuine smile that lit up his whole face. "Okay, Daddy." As Lennox turned off the light and closed the door, he whispered, "That's my boy. No one will ever silence you again." Months later, if you had walked into the Price mansion on any ordinary afternoon, you would have seen something beautiful. You would have seen a little boy building towers and laughing when they fell. You would have seen a father who left work early to have tea parties with his son. You would have seen a kind woman named Hyatt who became more than a maid. She became family. The walls in the house were just walls now, not hiding places, not prisons, just walls. Kofi still had hard days. Sometimes loud noises made him jumpy. Sometimes he needed extra hugs. Sometimes he asked Dr. Chin questions about why bad things happen to good people. But he was healing, really healing. And in a world where so many children suffer in silence, where so many secrets stay hidden behind closed doors, Kofi's story became a beacon of hope because someone noticed, someone asked, someone cared. And that made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share this story to remind people to look closer, ask questions, and never ignore the signs when a child is hurting. Subscribe to hear more stories that matter, stories that shine light into dark places and remind us that healing is possible. Because every child deserves to be seen. Every child deserves to be heard. Every child deserves to be safe. And every child deserves to face the world with courage, not a wall.